Hey friends, thank you so much for showing up in a new space here on the email trail. I think that's a really good quality just to highlight already. Welcome to this kind of mini series, extended content from Prepare to Go There. And what we're going to be doing is going deeper into this conversation about where you need to be showing up, how you're going to be showing up better prepared for all of the nuances and the challenges that come with leadership. And so let me just dive into the notes and get ready to take notes, because this is going to just be fast. And I'm just going to drop a few quick thoughts on you for you to work through. Again, I want to remind you that there's no such thing as good landscapes and bad landscapes. We just need great leaders in all of them. And we really do need leaders that are ready to make a positive difference in a variety of fields. So you might be in medicine, you might be in education, you might be in technology, you might be in the faith space. Whatever you're doing, man, give it your all and do it with intentionality and integrity, because we need pioneering leaders everywhere. Okay, I wanted to simplify a very complex challenge, which is trying to figure out where you need to show up as a leader and how you're going to shift personally as well as help your team shift professionally. And so to do that, we're using some language. We got these three categories. There's institutions, enterprises, and movements. They could be literal, workplaces, or they could actually be kind of a word picture to describe the kind of context that you're operating in right now. Now, if you haven't seen the initial training, somehow you just got this email, forwarded to you or something, go watch that training. It's called Pioneering Leadership Landscapes, and you'll enjoy it. It'll kind of set up the groundwork here. But I want to get into some of my concerns for each of these areas. Why put any light on negative stuff? And I think it's because as leaders, we've got to be ready for the real work, right? The real work is dealing with difficulty and opposition and discouragement. And you're going to have to know that you counted the cost before you show up and say, I'm a leader. I'm here to help. Follow me. Let's do this thing together. You're not going to get fanfare as you step into these leadership roles. And so it's good that you kind of dig deep and you get your own reasons to remain resilient. So we're going to just go down the line. Institutions, here are my main concerns at this stage of both my leadership journey as well as the coaching work that I do with others. First concern is rotting from within. You can be in an awesome organization and see it implode. And that is so painful, and it hurts, and it's heartbreaking, and there are people and families involved, and you're just like, what is going on? I'm seeing something that looks strong really just kind of crumble from within. And that's why you need to have your resilient reasons, so that way you can stand strong, you can be a strength for others. You're not going to kind of be compromised by that kind of corrosion or erosion in the organizational culture. And you continue, like I said, to be a voice of renewal and reform and bringing that hopeful voice of conviction back to the organizational culture. Another concern is that, in this context, the leadership culture is often entrenched. And so it can be very difficult to communicate, to coordinate, to bring in change management, to do simple things. I mean, I think this is probably the most slow-paced context of all three leadership landscapes. And, if you have that passion and that drive, this is going to run you up a wall. But if you know that you're there on purpose and that you are making a difference and you're going to literally like shift things in that organizational culture somehow, then at least you're a little bit more emotionally prepared. And there are some tactics that you need to be thinking through as you go through the leadership culture. And one is to remember that you've got to be willing, if you're in this context, to come from within as a servant leader and to come, seeking the welfare of that organizational culture and even that leadership culture. And as you serve, you'll get the opportunity to seek out opportunities, solve problems, and make a difference. The third concern is that there's going to be cultural hypocrisy. It's going to be everywhere. And I don't want to say that, I just don't think that there's a perfect institution out there. And so it can really be a target for this issue, cultural hypocrisy. It'll be one of the big challenges that you're going to have to walk through and work through humbly. And number one, keep your own life above reproach. And also, you're going to have to continue to double down on integrity and intentionality and values that are going to help make the future there better. Now, these are not reasons to avoid this leadership landscape. In fact, they actually might become reasons for you to engage that context and bring into it some well-needed life-giving values. However, you do need to seriously count the cost and prepare before you go there. All right, let's move over to movements just to keep it fun. The first concern about movements is that they fizzle out often. Movements come and go. They are really fickle in that way. And so you can give a lot of your time and energy. You can pour your heart and soul into something, whether it's a project or an initiative or some sort of collaborative thing or event or business or whatever it is, and feel like you don't have a lot to show for it at the end. And so just be prepared for that and say, hey, I feel like this is a movement. I feel like there's something in this or on this that we need to run with, but I'm going to count the costs. And I realize there's no guarantee that this thing is going to make it off the runway. And so that's why the leadership model and the leadership culture really matters at this leadership landscape. And that goes to the second concern here for movements, which is that the leadership culture can lose its way. Now, in the institution model, the leadership culture is very entrenched. They know who they are, they know what they do, they know how they do it, they know what they expect, they don't bend, right? But in the movement, many times the leadership culture is very flexible, very eager to seek out new ideas, new tactics, new things. I mean, they're very open. That's where there's this wildfire effect happening, and it can be difficult because many times, movements are decentralized. And so leadership culture can lose its way here. And so you're going to have to know, how are you going to keep your bearings? Or if you're working with a team or some sort of network, how are you going to build a sense of community and accountability that's going to serve those that are inside the movement, but also those that are going to be affected by this movement later on? And then the third concern is just a practical one, which is burnout. I think more leaders in this leadership landscape are prone, or at least liable, of burnout. they're targeted by decision fatigue and relational strain, and they just go because that's what they're in. They're in a movement, and there's no time to stop or rest. So being sustainable, figuring out what sustainability looks like for you, for your family, for your team, it's a really big deal. I know a lot of us say, man, this is exciting. We're going to do a movement. We're here for, we're going to change the world. But yeah, please do. Please go be in a movement, but go be in a healthy movement, in a helpful movement, in a movement that, has really happy members, 60, 70 years from now, not just in the moment. Movements are fun, but they are not for the faint of heart. You need to know how movements have impacted other leaders in the past and get acclimated with that reality in this leadership landscape. Hopefully, though, many of you will embrace the right pace, and you'll find worthy people that will be empowered to really go for it with you in this direction. So, go for it. Godspeed. Hope you have a great time. I mean that genuinely. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is enterprise. 3 concerns for the enterprise landscape. The first one here is there's a lot of turnover, and it is brutal out there. A lot of change. It is obviously, I know I'm saying some obvious things right now, but it is results oriented. It's performance driven, and a lot of people rise to the occasion, and a lot of people get chewed up and spit out. And so just be aware that that's the climate. The climate is there's a lot of turnover, and there will be occasional takeovers that go on in that environment. So it's very combative at times. It can be competitive, but it can feel combative at times. And that's because there are real risks and there are real rewards. And so when you go in, you arm yourself mentally to be disciplined and to, lead yourself well. You cannot be idle in this landscape and live. You will get eaten alive somewhere down the line. So you got to really be up for that challenge. Second concern here is talking about the leadership culture. Leadership culture can get co-opted. So the first one is they're really entrenched, and they're not budging. The other one is that they can lose their way. This one is going back to that kind of that war metaphor. Not saying that it's literal, but in a metaphor, it can get co-opted. Leadership culture can get taken over. And so you're going to have to be thinking financially, legally, culturally, how are you going to define the leadership culture in that landscape, and how are you going to defend the leadership culture in that landscape? And again, I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down, because I'm not just talking about individuals job hunting, looking for, which job do I want to be in? I'm talking to leaders that are thinking about the organizational culture of where they are right now, and knowing the shifts and seeing how different organizations actually shift into these behaviors and into these mindsets and functions. So be thinking about that as you prepare to go there. And then the last one is just be aware. Third concern for enterprises is that values can change. And that's really weird, because it's like, man, we really saw something take off with this team or this business, this organization, this thing. They stood for this, and now they're just like saying something totally different now. And that can feel really weird, and it doesn't make sense. It's like, how is this even possible? Because I don't think that would really happen in the institutional environment, and it doesn't often happen in a movement, but in an enterprise, somehow it just happens a little more often there. Enterprises are very powerful, and that's why they cannot be taken for granted. You need to be aware that many people will be pulled into seductive games of power and control and manipulation, etc. These are high stakes environments. You can win big. You can also lose big. So please don't gamble with your life. I mean, hear me sincerely. You can gain the whole world and you can still lose your soul. So don't have this, weird Messiah complex and think that you're doing people a favor by being a leader in this kind of landscape, and then, you're gambling your life away by making choices that are not just going to affect your life, but your loved ones as well. So you really have to wake up when you're in this landscape. If you're going to take on this leadership landscape, then I charge you, I commend you. It's a worthy ambition. Go for it, and commit right now that you're going to outlast all of the trends, and you're going to finish with a legacy of integrity. Okay? Thank you so much. I know that this video may feel kind of heavy, but I want you to go in armed with a respectful amount of realism. So take some time right now in the next few hours and reflect, because in the next checkpoint, we're going to go through the skill sets that you're going to need to thrive in each of these landscapes. See you then.